Hello, my friends in Momentum Land, and welcome to Momentum Boost. I am your host, Adrienne Gold Davis, and I'm so happy that you're joining us, especially today, because in this episode, we have the acclaimed musician, Amit Peled, and he has invited us to experience his Jewish journey, but through a live, incredible performance. Now, he is lauded as a cellist of profound artistry. His charismatic stage presence has won the attention of audiences worldwide, and he's currently the musical director of City Music Cleveland, and he's also the conductor, the artistic director, and the founder of Mount Vernon Virtuosi. And today, he put on a lovely Momentum red t-shirt for all of us. Please join me in welcoming Amit.
Hello everybody, can you hear me? Great to be here, and yes, the red shirt is especially for you for this Friday afternoon here in America. I want to take you with me on a personal journey, musical and personal journey of Israeli kibbutznik. I grew up in kibbutz Israel, in the Israel Valley, next to Gilboa Mountain. And many years ago, my first memory of music, just music in general, is related to my mother. And I know that your organization is about moms and kids. And my relationship, of course, to my mother is still, as a Jewish mother, I still talk to her every single day. But my mother, when I was young, probably around 5 years old, that's my first memory of her singing the song Eli Eli for me and my three sisters. And I would like to start this journey by playing the song Eli Eli for you. I'm sure many of you know the song. You can join me in. I can't hear you. You don't have to sing in tune. Here is Eli Eli, and that's the beginning of my musical journey. That was Eli Eli, and that was my first memory of music in the kibbutz, in kibbutz Israel, in the Israel Valley. As I grew up a little older, I was about 10 years old now, I was really into basketball, and you can't really see me standing up, but I'm 6'5", 198, 1 meter 98. And back then, I was really into basketball, much more than cello, I have to say. But luckily, under our classroom was a music room in the kibbutz. And there was a girl, another woman relationship, I guess, fits to your organization today. But there was a girl who was 14, and I was 10, and I had my first crush on a girl when I was 10, and she was 14. And I really wanted to impress her, but I didn't know how. I didn't dare talking to her because, of course, 4 years in that age, you don't talk to that girl. So I decided to do what she does, and she played cello. I didn't know what a cello is, but I said to the music teacher, I want to play what she plays, and I thought innocently that I will marry her if I play what she plays. So I started playing the cello because of this girl. Of course, I never got to talk to her, but I entered the music school, which was just a little room in the kibbutz. And I remember my first lesson. My teacher put on the stand music. I saw a lot of black dots, black dots all over. And he said, take the cello, Amit, and play. And I was like, what? What do you want from me? And he asked me to play. I did something that luckily is not recorded. But from that lesson on, that piece was the beginning of every lesson for 4 years. And that piece is a prelude from the Bach Suite number 1. And I would like to share with you that suite. This is the most famous movement of the Bach suites for cello solo. 10 years old, this was the first piece I played, and it carries in my heart until today. Thank you so much. I can see you all clapping. That's really nice. So this was the Bach suite, the prelude from the first suite for cello solo. When I started to play, it was around September, which is the beginning of school year, also in Israel. And in December, as we all know here in America, most people celebrate Christmas, but we celebrate Hanukkah. And I found out after moving to the States that it's basically the same thing, because all you do is eat and get presents. And that's basically end of December for me in Israel. And part of it was my parents being really excited about me playing the cello, not knowing that it's because of a girl and not because I'm intellectually superior to my other kids in the class. And they went to the next city, to Afula, which some of you know maybe because of the falafel. Afula has the best falafel in Israel. But it's also the neighboring town to my kibbutz. And they went to Afula to the music store, and they asked the guy in the store, can you give us a tape cassette? That was the 80s, a tape cassette with music for cello, because our son, very proudly, he's playing the cello. So they bought a tape cassette with the cellist Pablo Casals, playing short pieces for cello and piano. Pablo Casals was the greatest cellist of the 20th century. I didn't know it back then, but the tape cassette made me realize that I'm not going to succeed with a girl, but I am in love with cello. And every single day I listened to that tape as I was falling asleep on a bunk bed in my room with my 3 sisters for a longest time. The first piece on that tape played by Pablo Casals was the Kol Nidre, which we all know from Yom Kippur, which is coming in about a month. And I would like to share with you now the Kol Nidre played on cello. And that piece with Pablo Casals, with his cello, made me realize that the cello is my voice, and the cello's voice is the closest to the human voice. And from that moment on, in 4th grade, being 10 years old, I never stopped loving this instrument, practicing it, and sharing it with the world. So here is Kol Nidre for cello by Bruch. Thank you. I can't hear it, but I can see it, so thank you so much. The last person I would like to talk about, female figure in my life that has been very important, is the widow of Pablo Casals, the great cellist whom I introduced to you before. I'm sure some of you have heard of him. His widow, who is still alive, she's 84 years old, Mrs. Marta Casals Istomin. She lives in Washington, D.C. And if you remember that tape cassette that I got for Hanukkah when I was 10, I carried that tape with me all the time. I still have it, and I used to listen to it. The first piece on it was a Kol Nidre. The last piece is what you're about to hear now. Another piece that is played a lot by cellists, by Popper. But back then, more than 30 years ago, I never dreamed that I will meet the widow of Pablo Casals, the greatest, the Michael Jordan of the cello, play for her, and be lucky enough to have the cello of Pablo Casals in my hands. But a few years ago, I was introduced to Mrs. Casals. I went to her home and I played for her. And what started as an audition ended up with a glass of wine in my hand. And Mrs. Casals asked me if I would like to try and play the maestro's cello. And I said yes. His cello was made in 1733. And I have played that cello for 6 years. And that has been the dream come true of my life, to meet her, because she is a legend in the music world. She used to run the Kennedy Center, from many other things as well. But she was so close to the greatest cellist of all time, and I was so honored to have that cello in my hand. And I would like to end this concert by playing a piece by Popper, a piece that we call a showpiece, a salon piece. And I would like to take you with me because Popper wrote it when he was in Budapest. So I want to take you with me now to Budapest, and I want you to imagine that you're having a glass of champagne or schnapps or espresso, whatever you want to feel it is, and you're having an amazing lunch with a person you love, very intimately, but then a gypsy come in, and that's me, with a red shirt, and I start bothering you. I start trying to attract your attention so I can get your money and move to the next table. So here is a piece by Popper. It's called Hungarian Rhapsody. I hope you'll enjoy it, and this was a real joy to be with you today. I just want to, well, I catch my breath. I just want to say that this story with the cello and Maestro Casals and his widow, and being in the kibbutz, and the basketball, and the girl that I fell in love with, I always share it with people that are a bit older than me, or much older than me. And as I was touring the world and sharing this story, I realized that I would like to also share it with kids. I have 3 kids myself and a wife. And I always told my kids this story. And one time I met a friend who wrote it down into a story. Her name is Marnie Fogelson. And I read the story to my kids, and I decided if they like it, I'm going to publish it. And we have published this book. It's called A Cello Named Pablo, as you can see. And this is a great book for kids, great gift for savtot, grandmothers, for mothers to read before bed. And the illustrations here are terrific. It's made by Avi Katz, another friend from Israel. And we did self-funding for it. And this book is already in the 3rd edition. And I believe there will be a link there for people to purchase it. And the book, the story is told by the cello. The cello, Pablo, is telling the story. I'm just part of it. At some point in the 300 years, Pablo meets me, and we become good friends. But the beautiful part about it is that dreams come true, and that we are just drivers, and the cello will always stay and share music with the world. So I'm very proud of this creation, and I hope you will enjoy it. And thank you so much for being with me. Shabbat Shalom, and take care.
I'm so blown away. I feel so elevated. I can't thank you enough, Amit, for sharing your time and your beautiful soaring music with us.